Welcome to the Sage Wisdom Community Present series. Today we welcome Katrina McGiffin. Katrina guides women back to the intelligence of their bodies, where energy flows freely, intuition is trusted, and life is experienced from the inside out rather than managed from the outside in. Her work weaves together somatic awareness, energy medicine, hypnotherapy, and nutrition to address the full spectrum of what it means to be truly nourished, physically, energetically, and intuitively. Katrina supports women as they develop a genuine relationship with their body, learning to read its signals, trust its wisdom, and move through life with a deeper sense of embodied freedom and vitality. Thank you for being here with us today, Katrina. It's just amazing to have you with Sage Wisdom Community and
Mm.
sharing your amazing expertise and wisdom. So
Oh,
I'm
you're
going
so
to hand it
sweet,
over
Chris.
to you.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's really an honor, truly. I have
Appreciate that.
such deep respect for you and your work, and to be
Thank you.
invited into your space is an honor. So thank you. Thank you. And to be able to talk about the thing that I love so much that is such a passion of mine that has been in evolution for so many years, and that really is how to nourish a sacred life. So I'm excited today to just talk a little bit about what that means to me, how that came to um how that came to be, because it really is something. It's not like I set out in on this career path with this idea of like, I'm going to teach how to nourish a sacred life, but it is what the universe has called me into. And definitely has been a journey and evolution of my own and with my clients. And I'm sure one that will continue. So I'm always excited to see how that happens.
Oh, that's
um,
amazing.
so so I want to talk about what that means to me, and then also like what I see in my work really like kind of preventing us from doing that.
Wonderful.
And so I'll start by just sharing a little bit about my story, because it's just so interesting how life invites us into these things that we come to know and share, and we walk this journey for ourselves in order to help reflect it for others. And so I really came into this work by the time I started to become or wanted to become a nutritionist, went to school to get my master's degree in nutrition. I had been practicing yoga, doing meditation, like a devout practitioner for over 10 years. And I really saw myself as like, I can do this double thing where I can help people
Hmm.
nourish their body and help with nutrition. And then I can also help them with spirituality. And it was like these parallel paths that were going to exist, right? Like what you can pick one or the other, or we can do both, but like side by side, maybe one and then the other. And the universe was like, no, 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 no. You're going to weave these things together. But of course, I had to feel that in my own personal journey of recognizing that it wasn't just nourishing my body and then going and nourishing my spirituality. It
Hmm.
was actually both. Like it really like it. I had to bring them together, and we compartmentalize a lot of times our emotional well-being, our physical well-being, our spiritual well-being, and without this realization that it's actually, I mean, as you know, right, this one channel that has to really all connect up in order for us to experience wholeness, which I also like to play on the word holiness, right? Like with the
Love that.
W in front
Yes.
of it. But really, isn't that what holy is this embodied experience of the sacred. Like we only live a sacred life if we can bring it all the way down and through into our fullness of being, which is our physical form. And so the reason that I'm so passionate about this is because I feel like when we talk about living our most meaningful, purposeful life, it is when we're able to bring all of these aspects of ourselves, the things that we love, the things we might commune with on the meditation cushion, in the yoga space, in the temple, in the church, and bring it into our physical, the whole of our physical experience. And one of the ways we do that, in the same way we might go to the temple, the church, the mat, is by communing with the earth body. And we commune with our earth body when we commune with our own body. And one of the main portals through which we get to do that every single day is food. you
Mm.
know? And so how am I eating? What am I eating? And this is like, how am I nourishing my sacred experience of life? How am I, right? And so that's why
Yeah,
it becomes such a richer conversation than just like, how healthy is my body, what are my numbers, what are my,
right.
it's more about how, um what is the depth of experience I'm having with my physical body, which can only, the depth of experience I'm having with spirituality can only happen to the depth of which I'm experiencing my and nourishing my physical body, right? So that is such an important, that's how I look at food. I guess that's how I'll just sum it up. That's how I look at food is, how can I experience food and understand the way I interact with food, relate to food, um, to give me a reflection, an understanding of how much I'm living in my physical body and communing with the earth, bringing the sacred into the physical.
So you're blowing my mind.
Am I though? I feel like
You,
you think this way too.
no, I love this framing. I love the way that you're contextualizing this because it's so true. And I mean, especially from the very beginning where you're talking about compartmentalizing everything, and it's so true. Like, how are we doing in our bodies? How are we doing with our mental health? How are we doing with our weight? How are we, right? Like each, um, but when you say it the way that you do, I'm like, wow, this makes all the sense. And it also like connects that whole heavenly from the Chinese medicine perspective. You know, we are the expression of heaven and earth. And
Yes.
so bringing down the life force energy of the sun and the life force energy of the plants, and that's what truly is vitalizing us,
Yes,
right?
yes. And it has to be able to flow all the way down and through and be received. And if we're using like the sun and the earth as an analogy, right? Like I often in the energy work I do with people, which is what my nutrition practice has evolved into.
Okay.
All right, you know that, but it's like
Yes.
working way more with the chakras, with the subtle energy of like what is
Hmm.
happening in this flow. And, it's like if there's like the dry, dusty soil that can't really like absorb the water, or it can't really like the sun can't really penetrate because there's like nothing to really nourish, it's like very similar in that, the framework of our energy body. So
Wow. Fabulous.
I'm
All
moving
right.
down a little bit into another territory, but uh
That's okay.
so there's three things that I think are really interesting to talk about in terms of what I see most blocking us from this, ability to more fully experience the body, more fully inhabit our
Hmm.
life, right? Like the degree to which we inhabit our body is the degree to which we inhabit our life. If we aren't inhabiting our life, like what are we even doing here on this earth, right? So, the first one is trust. And I'm sure you see this in your practice too. Just how much do I, like, somewhere along the way we absorbed this idea that our bodies can't be trusted.
Mm.
And and that might land a little bit differently for everybody, but usually if I talk to someone even for like 30 minutes about their food life, there's some aspect that's like, oh, you're telling your body you don't trust it. And I think that's actually like part of all of us. And it stems from the diet culture most of us were raised within.
Hmm.
It stems from, the way we live upon this earth, like we can't trust the things on this earth, right? Like there are trust is a real big issue when it comes to like how much we're able to relate to our body, and it's that depth of relationship with our body, right, that will help us inhabit it. So
Hmm.
the way I see this play out with food is one of the biggest ways is really outsourcing who the expert is, right?
Yeah.
Like how can my app tell me what and how to eat? How are my
Mm.
numbers telling me what I should do? What are, like all the ways we kind of like find out through these external sources how I should be eating, how I should, and not that that can't be helpful, right? We know that it's like, it's helpful to know if my blood sugar is high, right? But if I had that depth of relationship with my body that I had been building, would I be able to feel that
Mm.
too? And I believe we can. And so it's not to say that that data is all wrong and we shouldn't use that data. It's just to say that the more we rely on that, the less we are trusting our own internal expertise. The greatest expert we have for our health is the one that lies within. And when we are more apt to listen to all the external wisdom and sources and influencers and whoever it is, then
Mhm.
what our own body is telling us, we are actively saying, I don't trust you. So
Yes.
that is one of the biggest things I see. In addition to, the second thing that I see in terms of trust is not not trusting the cravings, not being able to listen to
Mm.
what am I really desiring, what am I repulsed by, like and that's just, cravings is just one, it's just one example, but like these indications that I'm getting all day every day about what my body is being pulled toward or pushed away from, that are really messengers. They're the messengers from our body, right, where we learn to tune into those subtle layers of like, um of what our body might be telling us it needs in terms of nutrients, or it doesn't need, because of like, we aren't going to be able to mentally make sense of it, because unless we know like maybe the depth of science, but like, we don't need to know that. We just need to
Mhm.
know how to listen to our body and trust what it's telling us, right? So I guess my main point with that is just that the body is it's our most honest um partner. It is our the greatest expert lives within, and the more we develop that trust, um put away the app, put away the and just practice listening and trusting it.
So I was going to actually ask you
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Is practice listening sounds easy, but
yes,
as you and I know, that's
yeah,
probably one of the most challenging things to do.
yeah,
To
yeah,
quiet the mind, to shut off all the input, and to
yeah,
actually then allow for that wisdom to come through, and not only come through, but go, is that really me, or is that,
yeah.
am I making it up? Whatever. So I guess the question to you would be,
Mm-hmm.
listen, yes, but then how do you verify? Because we want verification, right? I mean, that's just kind of the culture we come from is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
trust
I
but
mean,
verify.
it makes me think of, I know there's something from Brene Brown here, and I think there was like a trust jar, but I think I'm going to go a different angle with it. Which is that, if we've been told, like, that person, you can never trust them. They
Hmm.
always lie to you. They always, like, talk behind your back. They always, like, we have this, it's going to be really, we're going to be hard pressed to be like, oh, I'm going to tell you something, or I'm going to listen to something you have to say and really trust it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to need to like sample that trust, and then like have some layers and layers of validation and verification, right?
Hmm.
Until, oh, actually I do trust this person. Whatever all these people were saying wasn't accurate, because now I have my own experience of it, right? Like, I think it's really similar to the body. Like, we have been told for so long that our bodies can't be trusted. Our
Yeah.
bodies are broken, they're falling apart, they will guide us in the wrong direction. If you like, you'll be out of control, right? Like, this has been the messaging we've been getting over and over and over again. So to just, you're right, to just say, just listen and follow, like, it's a lot, it's a lot more challenging than it seems, because it's like asking us to trust something that we've been told cannot be trusted. So it's that practice, just like we would develop a relationship with somebody. We have to develop the relationship, and developing a relationship takes time. That's where Brene Brown's thing comes in, where it's like,
Okay.
it's like the marble. I think it's like a trust jar, where she was telling her daughter, you have to put a marble in, every time you get that validation of trust. And
Mm-hmm.
then,
Mm-hmm.
that's how relationship develops. It doesn't develop just because someone says, you can trust me, just listen, just trust me, right? Like,
Right.
it sounds like a drug dealer.
You know
So,
you want it.
yeah. And
Right.
so it's like, I think it's really, I'm going to practice trust. I'm going to practice listening to my body today and seeing what happens when I trust it. And, and it's letting that happen over and over again, what to let that relationship develop.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's going to bloom into lots of other things too, right? Goes far beyond just
Absolutely.
what I put in my mouth. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's
Yes.
going to bloom into like that flow of energy, the sacred
Mm-hmm.
being more fully lived through our life. Because food, like I said, is just the doorway, it's just a portal into understanding how we are doing this, right? Like, how am I relating to my physical experience?
Right.
Food just gives us an indication of that.
Yeah, it's a great doorway, and it's something that we literally have to interact with every single day. So it's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
Do you mind if I ask two more follow-up
Yeah.
questions? I jotted a few things down as you were talking. So the one thing that comes to mind when you talk about not trusting our own bodies, it makes me think about allergies. And I know that we're not going to go down a whole allergy convo, but
Yeah.
at the same time, like, have you found that allergies is actually one way that people actually express not trusting their bodies because it's almost like a well, I can't trust what I put in, or even just food wary, right? Because well, I don't know
Mhm.
if I'm going to have a bad response to it or whatever. But in your work, have you seen anything where people have been able to become more comfortable on a broad scope of, eating different foods that maybe once they were afraid of or once they, were hyper cautious about or whatever. I know allergies is very
Yeah.
specific. Maybe I need to take that word out, but like I think you
Yeah,
understand
sensitivities, right? Because there are some
sensitivities.
things
Yeah.
that are maybe
Mhm.
like so ingrained physically that like an allergy, like a true allergy, right? That
Yeah. Right. That could be very
it's
dangerous,
a
but
little different to work with. But um and this is moving kind of out of the way I have seen allergies play out. I'm going to get a little bit like woo woo here, right? With the
sure.
energetics.
Yeah.
But it's what I've seen, and I've seen it in my own experience. I've seen it in so many clients' experience that allergies have to do with the I'm trying to figure out how to say this without getting too complicated, like with the boundary of our energy. So if you think of like a sensitivity is a lot about like the gut being leaky, right? Like
Sure.
having things enter that are like not where they're supposed to be.
Hmm.
And so if we think of like our energy field, allergy, or I'm going to say sensitivities are often and allergies, different degrees, but like what what am I holding from others? It often has to do with the layers of energy, the things
Okay.
that I'm holding from relatives, from my lineage, from ancestors, and the energies that have been carried, kind of like the enmeshment. When enmeshment has happened, it's like an enmeshment of energy, very similar to that leaky um the leaky gut, where
Okay.
things have flowed and are being carried. And so I know, like for myself, when as I have healed my gut, both on a physical level, but also tying in the energetics and looking at it from that perspective, I have really been able to discern what is mine, what is theirs.
Okay.
And so it gets a little woo woo, but it all actually marries up, and it helps
Hmm.
physically, it helps energetically. I mean, not only did my gut improve, but like my relationships improved because I was able to not be enmeshed with others,
Wow. Yeah.
just like the gut was able to like hold its integrity.
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
so it's like these conversations when we mix up things that we're used to talking about purely physically with the energetics, it can get a little like funky and ask us to expand our mind, expand how we're able to view these things. But like when you really look at it as a whole, and I know this, like it all marries up, it all makes
Yeah.
sense. And
Well, it
so
makes
yeah.
makes me think of the whole macrocosm microcosm thing, right? So,
Totally. Yeah.
the mini. heal the big, right? And so forth. So beautiful. The other thing that popped in was the cravings, and maybe you're going to be talking about this already, but we have cravings. Cravings, there's nothing right, wrong, or otherwise about cravings. It is just a way for our body to communicate with us as to something that we need. There's
Yeah.
something that needs to be fulfilled.
Yep.
So when you work with folks and you see that they have particular cravings, do you go down the path of, well, but what's the energy behind it, or what's the actual desire? We use food for so much. We use
Yeah.
food for emotion, we use food for hunger, we use food for, I don't know, desperation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So is that something that you would work with people on? And how does that relate to living a sacred life? Is like actually fulfilling the cravings that you truly have versus the ones that are perceived by the body.
Yeah. I mean, it's so individual, right? Because
Yeah.
the craving can be, can usually I'm looking at it from what is that desire like from, like where in the body is that held? Um, and what is it, maybe, like oftentimes I would say most of the time the reason we're craving it could be for nutrient, like specific nutrients, um is it, but what's like underlying that nutrient, right? So if I'm really craving a lot of meat, I'm gonna assume there's something going on with the root that, and I
Mhm.
don't, I try not to like read into things like, oh, like there's a deeper meaning there, but there just often is,
Mhm.
like the physical energy that we crave of protein has an underlying subtle energy that's feeding it, right? So depending on what the craving is, it usually gives some insight into like where we're working energetically. And the way that ties in for me to that sacred embodiment is if I have like a distorted energy somewhere, like I'll use this example, a recent client who really like didn't, like was just like, I only want to eat vegetables, like I only want to eat green things, like just greens, greens, greens. And it was also like, and this often is the situation, like love, 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 just if you just love everyone, if we just love, then all will be well, like just love more, and that's a beautiful sentiment, like we can't
It
argue
is.
with that. But sometimes there's a bypassing, right, that happens of like what's the actual thing that's happening. We can't just love our way out of a real, like a truth of an experience. We have to address the experience. We have to address the true feeling, right? The action that we can take from the power, all of those physical energy centers. And so there was this like avoidance, then we discovered
Got it.
in that craving, an avoidance of um her body. She wanted to avoid being more fully in her body. So it was a block then from experience her body more fully, living more fully, bringing the sacred in more fully.
Okay.
So it's, I
Mm.
mean, that's how it all, it's like, and it's a little different
Yeah.
for everybody. So that's the
Beautiful
fun of it.
example. That's right. That's right. Well,
Yeah.
thank
It's
you.
like putting a puzzle together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
true. I feel sometimes like I'll call it a health detective or an energy
Yeah.
detective, right? Because you're trying to look at all the clues and then somehow integrate them, distill them so that you get a better picture, a clearer picture. So, yeah.
Totally. I think of it as like
Hmm.
untangling a knot. It's like picking,
Hmm.
you know. Yeah, so the other thing I was, and that what really plays into that is just the control. Like how much do I feel like I need to control my
Mm.
body? How much do I feel like I need to we often like kind of think of control as equal in different ways, right? But equal to the amount of health I can have. How
Mm.
controlled can I be? How disciplined I can be?
Mm.
How rigid I can be? Like I find this a lot is like is equal in my mind in is to like how healthy can I be? And yet when we have this control, it's like contracting that life force that we can inhabit. It's
Hmm.
holding on too tight to it, right? So um I always just want people to assess, where am I really controlling things and not inviting a deeper exploration of the cravings. I'm just saying, no, you can't have that, right? The control pulls us out of the moment. It pulls us out of the energy. And it often like pulls us into this cycle that sometimes people are part of, where it's like, kind of like the diet cycle we've seen of like, I'm going to control, but then I can't control for so long and I'm going to fall apart. And then I'm going to like come back to control. And it's like, rather than moving into that more harmonious flow of energy that we can invite ourselves into when we let go of control, that nature shows us every single
Hmm.
day that it can do, where we have that full flow of life through the seasons, through each day, right? Like, so control is I think a really important thing to assess in terms of this
So for
concept.
somebody who, well, first they need to identify that they're actually controlling the situation, right? Because
Right.
that sometimes is even hard. But then once you have identified that, like, what are some ways that you can loosen those things up a little or let a little bit more flow through without
Mm-hmm.
feeling like you're just, like you said, gonna go crazy, right? We need
Yeah.
to have a little balance, at least until you're feeling comfortable, more comfortable in this new reality, and then go from there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like a dance that happens, right? And it often naturally unfolds with the trust piece in play as you're
Okay.
like developing the relationship with trust, as you know, like as you're working with like the more subtle energy. I find that will, we get to the layers of like what's at the root of that control, and then you start to noodle it, right? You start to work
Okay.
with it.
Hmm.
So it is exactly like, you can't, I think first and foremost, it's just becoming aware of it, becoming aware of where I am controlling things, right? Like, how am I often think about it in terms of people's yards. Like,
Okay.
am I controlling like the way life, how much am I controlling it, right? And just becoming aware of it, just noticing it, just saying like, oh yeah, I really do. I'm weighing my food. I'm really controlling,
Hmm.
from that external place versus like, and that's a really overt example, but you know, I'm a really big believer in just noticing. So it does a lot. Noticing does a lot. And then inviting the listening from it.
Right. I was
Why
just going to
do I
say
control that?
that's when the wisdom starts to come through. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's again, it's like there isn't a magical answer. We so want the pill, right? The like, but it's
Yes.
really like letting ourselves, yeah, listen and let it unfold, let it begin to let it evolve from what it was. Yeah.
This powerful, powerful work you're doing.
Oh. Well, you too.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said there was a third thing as well. What is that?
The third thing, it really just plays into both of those things, but it's just the one of my favorite things to lean into in this conversation is reshaping the notion that we are somehow broken,
Ah,
that we need to
yes.
be fixed. I mean, so many people arrive to, especially nutrition work, or to physical work, with this idea that there's something like so inherently wrong with me, and I'm just getting worse and worse and worse. I often liken it to like, we think of ourselves like a car that's aging rather than a living being that's aging. The two very different things, right? Like a car, it's things are going to break and you're going to have to go to a repair person to have them fixed. There's no other way to have it fixed. But our bodies naturally are inclined to heal always and forever. They might decline with age, but as a living being, we get to have this ability to regenerate health inherently, right?
It's
Like,
amazing. Yes.
yeah. And I think we forget that like my body is naturally inclined toward health. If I cut myself, I can trust that it will heal. And the same is true for every other aspect of our body. And so that is, just reframing the thought that I am somehow broken, that I somehow need to be
Hmm.
fixed, especially that I need to be fixed from somebody outside of myself, to I am inherently healing. I am I am my sacred truth is that I embody health simply because I am a living being on this earth. End of
We could
story.
turn that into a mantra. That's absolutely
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like catching ourselves, because that's another thing that's been deeply ingrained is I am
Yeah.
broken. I am broken. I need to be fixed. How many times I just need to fix that? I need to fix that thing. I need, this is what I need
Mm-hmm.
fixed, right? So
Such a
catching
big one.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So the three of these then integrate to create more flow, more ease, more trust.
Yeah.
And then does the energy naturally flow once those things have aligned more? Or is there a practice
I
that you
think so.
do?
Yes. I mean,
Or
it is what I see, it's what I feel in myself. It's what I witness in my
yeah.
clients. I often talk about it in terms of like, wildflowers. Like if we each saw ourselves as like an individual wildflower, like a wildflower doesn't have to try to be who it is, to have life flow through it, to rise up from this earth up and down and bloom and, receive sun, receive nurturing from the soil. It just does. And the same is true for us. And so when we move these barriers that have prevented us from remembering the truth of who we are
Mm.
as a natural being on this earth, that energy flows freely on its own, just like it does through every other living being. There's nothing we have to effort toward.
And I think that's the crux of it because so many humans feel other than nature. And
Yes.
we
Yes.
are nature, right?
Yeah.
Just as
Yeah.
much as the tree and the flower and the bird and the squirrel. And yes, yes.
Exactly. And so
Mhm.
that's like, that is the, I mean, I really do believe like the greatest thing we can do if we have concern for life continuing on this earth, right? Like,
Mhm.
is to inhabit the life ourselves and really feel that truthfully in ourselves. Like it has to come from a knowing of it in ourselves, right? If we are to live on this earth in harmony with all the rest of life.
Absolutely. I remember one of the strongest, I'll call it a meditation I had was when I had that aha of thinking about my grandfather coming from Austria. And then I was like, not only did the people come from Austria, like we are made of the mountains. We are made of the water. We are made of the trees from wherever, right, we came. Like we are the same materials as those things. It's not like we happen to whoop, pop up in them. It's like, no, all those things made us who we are. And carrying
Yeah.
that with me is so powerful
Yes.
to remember. And it's like we hold the same vibration as nature. And that gives us vitality. We connect to Mother Earth, and that gives us vitality. We actually are energized literally by the sun. Our batteries are filled within us. That is, such a strong connection. So all of these things are great reminders, and sometimes you get caught up in the loop of sitting on the sofa watching TV, or you, whatever, are dragged down by something else that's going on in your world. But like to be able to come back to that and be,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yes, this is such a powerful place that I can integrate and I'm so interconnected with all of this nature around me.
And I don't
Yeah.
have to try, right?
And
It's
I
like
don't, right, I
microcosm,
just am.
macrocosm.
Yes.
I just am. I just
Yes.
am. And that's like when we get caught up in what's my meaning? What's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? It's like you're supposed to just be as alive as you possibly can and it will just
Right.
happen.
Right. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And I thank you so much for bringing these ideas to like really let us know what to look for and how
Yeah.
to be more embodied and connect to that life force. So thank you for that.
Oh, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
yeah, if somebody wanted to work with you, how would they find you?
Well, my website, nourishandbe.com. And I do like a lot of what I'm talking about today is in my course, The Sacred Art of Eating, which
Okay.
I am launching a live version of soon. I often have evergreen version that you can do on your own, but it's way more fun to do it
Yeah.
with a group, right? And so it's really powerful to sit, as you know, I host retreats and I like to create circles and of women coming together because there's just so much more power in the energy that is contained when women come together and can hold and support each other in that way. So that is starting on June 22nd. I did make a special code. Anybody that's watching this before then that wants to
Oh,
join,
great.
$50 off with the code Sage Wisdom.
Ooh,
And so
that's fun.
that starts the 22nd. So if anybody's interested in that, they can contact me through Facebook, through my website, and or otherwise if they feel like doing one-on work, that is always available and always so powerful.
Oh, well, this is just wonderful. Thank you, Katrina. I feel so honored to have you come and talk to us today.
Oh, well, the honor was mine. And I thank you
Thank
for
you.
creating the space for having such an intentional and conscious space.
I
Just
appreciate
infusing
that.
it with your magic. It is really beautiful.
I do love it so much. I'm so glad to have you and so many other amazing wise women in it. So, yeah.
Thank you,
All right.
Christy.
You're welcome. We'll sign off for today, and I hope that you, I'm speaking to the wider you, will come to future Sage Wisdom Community talks because we have incredible people like Katrina joining us, sharing their wisdom, their experience, and I'd love to have you join. All right. Have a beautiful day.